People respond to authenticity and sincerity. And we are absolutely the underdog in this equation. And, we hoped against hope. We really didn't want to strike. We extended an unprecedented amount of time to avert a strike because it's not lost on us how this will impact not only our members, but people who service our industry, people who are in other unions that will be affected by this, millions of people all across the nation, people you don't even think of that will be impacted by this, will be impacted by this. And so in earnest, we extended, hoping that they would make deeper inroads, give us some meat on the bone so we can really have a meaningful conversation. They locked themselves behind closed doors. They kept canceling our meetings, and we thought, okay, maybe they're really duking it out in there. Maybe they're going to come back with something that we could really have a meaningful discussion. But we got bupkis, and I think that we were duped. Maybe they were just wanting us to extend, making us believe that something was going to come out of it, but all the while just promoting their summer movies while they still could. And as the clock was ticking, I'm still looking at this big clock in the room saying, well, there's 4 hours left. Something could happen in 4 hours. But the clock ticked out, and we had no other recourse. It's really a sad day when people that we have been in business with could turn their backs on us so profoundly, so disrespectfully, and dishonor our contributions in this way. I mean, I'm really floored.
What was the initial AMPTP reaction when you first presented the demands for the contract renewal?
Well, first let me just say to your prior question, I think also the sort of outpouring of support and energy that you can detect outside on the street, on social media, on other picket lines, et cetera, what it really reflects is the fact that people understand the kind of fight that's going on here. Certainly the other workers in the entertainment industry, like the writers who are on strike and the other union members who work in this industry, know exactly what we're fighting for. But even outside of this industry, workers in all kinds of other industries, people in the political sphere, they all understand this fight because, like Fran said, this is a fight to protect and respect workers, in this case actors, who are being taken advantage of by big multinational companies, and it's time for that to come to an end.
And we get the publicity, we get the attention of the press, but we really are speaking on behalf of all labor. The eyes of labor around the world is watching what is happening right here because they feel the impact in the same way.
Bob Iger recently made that comment, and we talked about it a little bit in the press conference about how these were unrealistic expectations. In both of your opinions, what does a realistic agreement look like with the AMPTP?
Well, I think the agreement we have on the table is a very realistic agreement. The fact that the companies don't want to agree to it doesn't make it unrealistic. That's because, I mean, there are proposal after proposal in our package that would cost them pennies and they refuse to do them. Is it because those pennies are crucial to their business, or is it because in their mind it's not a priority to treat their workers with respect? I think the answer to that is obvious. And as far as Bob's comments go, it's hard to know what's going on in a negotiation when you're not there. That's not who's sitting across the table. And I think that if Bob, chose to participate directly in the negotiations, he would have a much better view of the necessity and the realism of our proposals.
And can you talk a bit about how this will affect foreign members of SAG? Will they be able to essentially still participate in productions overseas, or is it a complete solidarity globally?
So any SAG-AFTRA production anywhere in the world falls under this strike that's under our TV and theatrical contracts. There are some productions that are done in cooperation with local unions where the answer to that is a little more complicated, and our members who are working in those projects need to contact us so we can give them an answer, because local laws may affect exactly the timing or how that works. But for any member who's working on, a studio production, an AMPTP production under these TV theatrical contracts, if they're on location anywhere else or if they're here at home, that work stops at 12:01 a.m. tomorrow morning.
But, you got to realize we had an unprecedented vote of support for a strike authorization. 97.91% said yes, if we need to strike, we strike, because they are living it. They are feeling it. Maybe Bob, who's making hundreds of millions of dollars, doesn't appreciate what the journeyman actor is feeling every single day, who's just trying to pay rent, put their kids through school, and food on the table. That's who breathes life into every single production. But we feel it, they feel it, and that's why they voted the way they did, because everybody who is impacted by this, not the people up in the ivory towers, but the people who are genuinely impacted by this, have a keen understanding that this is going in a very wrong direction. And unless we put a saddle on this wild, out-of-control pony and pull in the reins, it is never going to be within our grasp to do it again. It is now or never. I kept saying this is going to be a seminal negotiation. I hope that they would have been able to make it possible for us to do without a strike. But the strike had to happen as the next logical stage, because we did the extension, nothing came of it, the clock was ticking, and it ran out. Now we're willing to continue to talk with them. Where are they? They said it'll be a long time before we do. Okay, because you're a big corporation that doesn't really care about people.
And does this fill you, having been in the industry for so long, does this fill you with hope going into the strike now, joining the WGA, just because this has essentially unveiled a lot of cracks within the industry and a lot of the inequalities that exist within it?
Well, I think in that regard, it's going to be an important conversation that is long overdue. And listen, there's a reason why unions exist, because big business doesn't tend to do right by workers unless they're forced into it. I mean, power concedes nothing without demand. It never has, and it never will. And so, we exist because it's been that way, and now, we are on strike because they gave us no other recourse.